Hello you amazing people, welcome back to RXMemes. Today we are jumping into r/maliciouscompliance, which is forever my favorite. I love these little short and sweet, super satisfying stories. As always, if you liked today's video, I would love for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload. I also have Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat if you want to touch base with me there. I always love interacting with you, and yeah. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The Master of Malicious Compliance, posted by user/dinoscores. A few years ago, I was in the process of getting my master's degree. Our group for that particular degree was fairly small, about a dozen of us when we started, and a few dropped out along the way. So the lectures and seminars were tiny and we all got to know each other well. It wasn't uncommon for classes to continue for several hours over beers down the pub. All in all, a pretty great way to learn. The leader of the program, who also taught one of the units, was awesome. Very anti-establishment punk who wanted to get on with teaching his subject his way. The higher-ups were in the process of trying to change how everything worked, basically making it much tougher on the students and a lot more bureaucratic because reasons? One thing they changed was extensions for assignments. The way it used to work was you'd have a deadline, but if you needed an extension, the lecturer for that unit could grant one at their discretion. The new process meant that if you needed an extension, you'd have to apply to the extension board, and you wouldn't know if you'd had it approved or not until well past the deadline. You basically had to gamble. If you applied for the extension and handed it past the deadline and your extension wasn't granted at all or wasn't granted for enough time, you'd get a failing mark for being late. It was super stressful, especially for those of us with ongoing reasons for needing them. Example, me with my health issues. This angered the program leader a lot. As far as he was concerned, it's his course. He knows us all well enough to smell bullshit excuses. His say should be good enough to grant an extension. He carried on handing them out anyway while they were in the process of changing the system, getting into a lot of trouble in the process, but once it was fully changed over, his power to grant them was gone. There was only one major assignment left at this point, the thesis. Most of our class ended up needing extensions for it. Sick children, bereavement, illnesses, other life stuff that meant you couldn't spend 50 to 60 hours every week on it to meet the deadline. We were all preparing to take the gamble, collect as much evidence as possible, and submit all the ridiculous paperwork in the hope that our entire degree wouldn't be taken away from us thanks to a board of pencil pushers who didn't even know us. A couple days before the deadline, the course leader gets in touch to gleefully inform us that the morons in charge took away his extension powers, but not his powers to change the actual deadline dates. He figured the best thing to do was to move the deadline 6 months into the future, giving us all more than enough time to not only finish our work but keep improving on it. As an extra special you to the people stressing out his students and messing with his course. We all graduated, and they couldn't do much about it because he was working perfectly within the rules. This is the teacher that you hope to get in university or college. Oh my gosh. Honestly though, has anyone else had a rule like this? I've never heard of it, but good on the teacher for doing that and for figuring out a sneaky little way to get his students to pass, because it's in the school's best interest if they pass anyways. It's just ridiculous. Want us to decorate our office door for a Christmas contest? Sure, we'll participate. Posted by user/Maida187. So in the military, we sometimes have mandatory fun. Basically, we really don't have a choice. We have to go out, have fun with leadership. It's supposed to be a morale boosting event, but when it's forced, it really isn't. Some of these events were barbecues, intra-squadron challenges, 5K formation fun runs, and going away lunches. Of course, during the holidays, the mandatory fun was kicked into overdrive with holiday potlucks, Secret Santa gift exchanges, and crazy decoration contests. Around the summer of 2006, I was assigned to the Maintenance Control Center, MCC office. This office had 5 people in it, 1 crusty E6, 2 career floating E5s, and 2 brand new E4s. I'm one of them. The thought of actually getting involved with mandatory fun events made the E5s and E6 cringe. They were set in their ways and absolutely hated squadron activities. Unfortunately for those guys, the MCC was located in the main squadron's building where all the squadron's leadership sat, and where all the other squadron's support offices were. Counting the commander's office and the commander's support staff office, there was a total of 15 different offices in that building. So if you didn't get involved in mandatory fun, it was noticed. Mid-November 2006, the squadron's party planning committee, can't remember their real name, had a great morale-boosting idea, a door decorating contest. Each office in the squadron's main building will, keyword, will, decorate their door with a Christmas or holiday theme. The doors had to be completely decorated by the end of the second week of December. The committee would judge on the doors on the beginning of the third week in December and announce the winners by the end of the week. The winners get a free lunch and bragging rights. As you walk through the building in the beginning of December, all the offices were going nuts with their door decos. One even had a Halloween Town Christmas theme that looked really cool. Another had projector pointing to the door, showing snowflakes falling in great detail. And one had gift wrapped the entire door. All of the offices, including the commander, had their doors decorated. Except ours. When I asked the E6, aren't we gonna do something? His answer was, no, I ain't doing that shit. Whereas the E5s were, we're busy, we don't have time. It was Friday of the first week of December and we still haven't decorated our door. The section chief, E7, came in and asked E6, are you guys gonna decorate your door? The E6's answer was, no, we're busy training. Well, the section chief didn't like that answer and he told the whole MCC to do something creative by COB today, and then left. That's where I stepped up and used my young military experience. I remembered that during our last exercise, there was some signs that were posted around base that informed people of simulated a situation, such as simulated block door or simulated road hazard. With that knowledge in hand, I printed out 4 sheets of paper, taped one to the top, 2 in the middle, and 1 on the bottom of the door. And that was our official door decorations. Simulated lights, top, simulated ornaments, simulated wreath, middle, simulated snow, bottom. When section chief saw it, he came in and said, all right, who's the smartass? We didn't end up winning the door contest, but someone from the wing PA office was in our building one day, saw our door, took a picture, and published it on the base paper with the caption, Holiday Spirit in Full Force, which the E6 absolutely hated because of the attention we got from it. This is so funny, and while I was reading it, I really could see where it was going, but I would have given those people the win. How easy is it to wrap a door, you know? Like, it's pretty easy. It's not that difficult. And to put some lights, that's really freaking easy. But to actually be creative and clever, that's not as easy. If you ask me, I would have given them the win. As for bragging rights being the prize, it's almost as valuable as being paid in exposure, but not quite. So almost up there, but just not quite. Teacher told my friend to bring in something flat like a ruler. He brought something flat, but not a ruler. Posted by user/Edgar Mods. This happened literally today as of writing this. At my school, we have a math teacher who I'm going to call Ms. Math for privacy. She was a really good teacher, but not the most laid-back teacher. My friend, who we'll call Ed, really hated her. Anyway, according to my friend, she got fed up with him drawing lines without a ruler, so she yelled at him and told him to bring something to help him draw straight lines. So he came into school today with a freaking license plate he took off a car of his. It wasn't his, him and his dad like to tinker with cars, so it was probably just some car they have. He seemed really proud of it. I haven't seen him since, he told me. I'll try to update tomorrow if he tells me what ended up happening. Creative, I guess. I had several teachers that I just hated. But some of the teachers that I started out hating ended up being my favorite teachers once my mom told me to just find something that you have in common with them or that you can relate on. And one teacher in particular, she was a social studies teacher. I hated her. She was just very abrasive. So, little tip, if you have any teachers that you just hate, find something that you can relate with them and maybe you will end up liking them. I'm calling your parents. What's their phone number? Posted by user/Callista Maybe. This is malicious compliance. Kind of. Never posted before and new to Reddit in general. Forgive the mistakes and thanks for reading. All throughout grade school, I was an AB student. Never had one behavioral fraction. My senior year ended up being fantastic. Very few classes I had to attend on campus, and not to mention 2/3 of one of my days was spent in the art room with a really awesome, laid-back teacher who really did not care what we did as long as we turned in some work every now and again. At our school, no students are allowed to leave campus for lunch for any reason, but we often saw kids doing so and coming back to the art class while no one batted an eye. One day a friend of mine and I decided to go out and get some well-deserved Latin cuisine. To our surprise, when we returned to class with some delicious Colombian sodas, my heritage is Colombian, that's important later, the teacher had written us up for leaving campus. Pissed off that the teacher had chosen today to start giving a damn, I headed to the discipline office. Admittedly, I was pretty nervous about the whole thing. In my 13 years in the school system, I'd never been sent to the office for any reason. I wasn't sweating it when it came to my parents though, because I knew that the notice for ISS, in-school suspension, I would receive would arrive in the mail, then swiftly make it into my hands without my parents noticing, because I arrived home before they did. I go into the office and Mr. Discipline Officer oozes with ego as he lectures me. Things along the lines of, "You know the rule for going off campus?" Then making me say yes to every inane question, patronizing me. I can't remember all of what he said, it's been 10 years now. What I do remember is being nervous, but at the same time annoyed because the end result would be the same, me getting 3 days of ISS. What's the use of talking down to me in addition to that? I think maybe he was reading that I was over this conversation because then he pulled out something I didn't see coming. "So we're going to call your parents." Picks up handset. "What's their number?" Later, I would be mad that he singled me out this way. I knew calling kids' parents for something so minor was not in protocol. Later I would find out my friend didn't have his parents called. That would be later. But right now, as he looked at me waiting for my parents' phone number, I didn't know what to do. But I did not want to give them their number. My mouth opened and I started giving their phone number, without skipping a beat, not sure what else to do. 352, dials, 402, dials. Then I don't know why, I just made up the last 4 numbers. As I watched him hold the handset to his ear, I thought to myself, it must be ringing. Thank God I didn't have him dial a line that was disconnected. Wait, it's still ringing. What's going to happen if someone answers? What if it goes to voicemail and he realizes he isn't calling either of my parents? Then he said it. Ah, okay, so the voicemail is in Spanish. My good Lord Jesus. Yeah. Every ounce of nervousness leaves my body in that moment. He leaves a voicemail to my parents telling them all about how their daughter left campus and is receiving in-school suspension. He asks them to call him back. After I stepped out of his office, I called the number I'd made up. Fortunately, the only person notified of my suspension was some young Hispanic woman. Thanks, Anna. I don't want to brag about my terrible school career, so I'm just going to go out and say it. I've been to Colombia, and favorite cuisine, probably ever, are Colombian hot dogs. Oh my gosh. I need there to be just like a Colombian hot dog restaurant here. Holy, they're so good. Somebody should look up. Okay, I'm going to put a link to a video in the description. I think it's called Comiendo por Bogota, but you have to watch that because the hot dog edition, no joke, like this, okay, I'm being 100% serious right now. Ideal cheat meal would be a Colombian hot dog any day, except when I'm vegetarian, then they're not the best. Oh, minus the quail eggs. But do yourself a favor and watch that video because I swear, oh my gosh, they're so good. Titled customer intrudes my workspace and demands his order to be made quick. Posted by user / an electric feel. So a little bit of context, I work in a cafe hookah restaurant and note that the hookah lounge has its own space to the side. I had just finished making a last order and when I'm done with my work in the lounge, I work as a waiter. A group of 4 people walked into the lounge, I handed them the menu and while they were discussing their order, I noticed they were from my country, which I will not mention for privacy reasons. So once they ordered, I told them in my native language why I wouldn't order that and recommended another flavor. The guy agreed and I went to the back to make it. It took about 30 minutes for me to finish it, which is okay if you're expecting a high standard hookah. Upon trying it, his face lit up and he exclaimed, "Wow, this is really good," in native. Me, satisfied with my work, walked back to go prepare some coal as it was a busy day and we had a lot of hookahs active. About 5 minutes later, while I'm still working on the coal, one of the dudes comes up to the back. Now, there's a clear distinction between the lounge and the staff area, and also a door. This dude comes up to me and all friendly like, "Yeah, I'd like to make an order." Due to the polite nature of my native language, this sounded pretty decently, but someone who wanted to be rude would use the same words. It's all in the tone. This were a few red flags for me. 1, his tone. 2, him intruding my workspace. And 3, him coming to me directly to give the order when there were waiters walking around there. But I then went on to take his order. Strawberry as before. I give recommendations on what I would think would be nice combinations, so I ask him, maybe a little bit of mint added? No, just strawberry. This time he was actually rude. Oh, and make it quick because he didn't finish his because and just left. Yep. Oh, I'm gonna make this one quick. Don't worry, fam. I'm sure some of you hookah smokers know that it doesn't really take more than 10 to 20 minutes to make a decent hookah. But the previous one I made for them, I put all my effort to make sure the variables were right. Firstly, I cut the flavor pieces to the perfect size. I spent a good time to making the holes in the aluminum look neat and tidy. I changed the water of the base, added ice, added some cut fruits and mint, cleaned the tube, and most importantly of all, I started on a new batch of coals. Because if you use the old batch, it heavily affects the flavor. This is where any amount of time you spend on making sure the new batch of coals is ready is rewarded with an improvement in the taste. Guess how long it took me to make the second dude's hookah? 3 minutes. I got to work immediately, just poured in the flavors without cutting them, spanned the holes on the thing, used the previous batch of coals, and it was done within 2 minutes. Needless to say, it was the quickest and the most mediocre one I've ever made. The dude was impressed at first when he saw me come out with his hookah within 2 minutes, but he could clearly taste the difference between the one I made for his friend and his. Also, given the fact that most people stay here to smoke for about 2 to 4 hours, a 30-minute wait for a good hookah experience is something that I guarantee you is worth it. Ooh, do I have any hookah lovers that are listening to this right now? I love shisha. My favorite flavor is orange mint, followed closely by white grape mint. Yummy. Oh, I want some right now, actually. It's such a relaxing thing. I just love it. I wonder what language they were speaking. I'm thinking maybe Persian, because Persians always sound very polite. All right, everybody, that's it for today's video. Once again, if you liked it, I would love for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell and the thumbs up button. And let me know in the comments what you would like to see next. I promise I am uploading more often now. It has been just a crazy month, but I'm getting back into the swing of things, so you can look forward to a video tomorrow. I promise. And once again, if you want to reach out to me on social media, you can follow the links in the description bar, and I would love to touch base with you there. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.